Well.
Mr. Chair, we are live.
Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. We have the roll.
Yes. Commissioner Frascovus,
Here.
Carpenter,
Here.
Commissioner Cohen, here, Commissioner Oliveros,
Here.
and Commissioner Jay isn't here yet. I'm expecting her. I think I haven't heard that she would be here.
Okay. Hey, Commissioner.
Chappelle is excused.
Yes, right. Everyone had a chance to review minutes. Yes. And were there any changes or would take a motion to approve minutes of last meeting?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
And thank you to Karen for catching so many details, capturing so many details. Good job on this.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any visitors, public comments? No, I'm just looking at our visitor. Do you have comments? Yes. Okay, great. I'm just.
Oh. That's okay. We know who we are though, right?
I know. I don't know if they all,
And can you please state, oh, you're up right now.
right now.
Yeah,
Okay,
so if you want to please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Paul K. Ryder, and I'm a resident here of Independence for many, many years. And main thing I'm here for is I want to make sure that the 40-foot height that we're going to discuss later on tonight that's what I like to see. I was very upset when the project was going to go on Second and D Street. They're going to be a 4-story building lot, and I was very upset over that. I own 6 properties within 2 blocks of that. And it's something that should not have been, so I want to make sure that this limit is put in the code. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for coming to talk to us. And you have something regarding about staff reports.
No staff reports. I will just say, maybe I'll leave that till later. And other discussion, I'll write it down so I don't forget it. But yeah, let's keep on going.
Actually, can I just say one thing?
Yes.
We're talking about those height pieces tonight.
Yeah.
But we are not voting on anything tonight or making those changes that,
That's right.
yeah, so this will be, when that comes up, yeah, so I appreciate your comments. When it comes up for actual discussion for development code changes, I would encourage you to come speak. Okay. But I appreciate your comments right now. So, anyway, sorry to get out of order. So I guess the other piece is the unfinished business, tonight, or I guess we were supposed to have a public hearing a couple of weeks ago, got postponed today, we got postponed to May 30th at 6:30 p.m. to hear the Brady Meadows subdivision phases 5 through 9 hearing. So that'll be here at 6:30 on the 30th. So I guess the new business.
Now, just other than those,
Approval extension request, subdivision approval extension request.
yeah, that's right. So, so the first one is for a subdivision, that, Southwest Crossing, you folks approved it in 2001. It's a 67 lot subdivision. It includes a large wetland that would be dedicated to the city of Independence as well. It would have a trail along the east side of the wetland, ultimately connecting up to Falcon Loop. You folks had a public hearing on that on May 3rd, 2021. At that time, 27 conditions of approval were attached to it. That property has taken a little bit longer to develop than was anticipated. It was sold by Gordon King to a gentleman named or Gordon King and Chuck Good, who was the owner of the property, to a guy named Levi Miller. Levi Miller is going ahead with that project. He has all the engineering in. It has been approved. They're almost ready to break ground on that site. At this point, he has requested that that subdivision approval be extended for 1 additional year. Our code allows that. Basically, a couple of the things that you folks should consider as part of that is whether conditions have changed to a sufficient degree to warrant reconsideration of the tentative plat. From my perspective, conditions have not changed. The same standards apply to that. If that were to come through new, we probably would attach the same 27 conditions to it. The second thing was, oh yeah, you can grant an extension. He did submit this in a timely form. I was planning on having this on the April 3rd Planning Commission agenda. At that time, there were so many things that were in. I was like, I know there's 3 things, and I just couldn't remember what the third thing was, and it was this. So it was submitted in a timely form. Even if you folks approved it tonight, it still would be within 2 years of the request or of the original approval date. So based on all of those things, I would recommend that you folks extend this subdivision approval for 1 additional year. Are there any questions? You folks remember the subdivision? It's out there on 16th or Talmadge, sort of right adjacent to the city of Monmouth.
I'm sorry, Fred, I think you said that, but I just want to confirm that of the 27 conditions that you would approve, I mean, you would require all those again today, those same 27.
Exactly.
That
Yeah.
would change.
I was part of the commission at that time. Could you give me a little bit of information that you have?
Yeah, so Karen, could you go to page 11 of the staff report? And I'll get my little laser pointer. I should just grab it, but I didn't think I would need it. So basically, it's a simple little subdivision. This is Talmadge Road or 16th right there. I don't know exactly which one is which. It turns from Talmadge to 16th right in that general area. This goes up to the light right here. This is a vacant lot right here. This is Falcon Loop right here, which connects over to 13th, which is over here. The Catholic Church sits somewhere in this vicinity, right over here. This is Richmond Square Apartments, or I think it's Richmond Square. It's something like that. So these are apartments right here. This is a bunch of duplexes on Falcon Loop. What this project would do is 67 lots. This is phase 1 right here. Ultimately, it would continue in the future down here, but those have not been approved at this point. It would build out the road to about this vicinity right here, connecting over to Madrona Street in Monmouth. This would be an alley right here with houses oriented this way. The Talmadge Road taking their access off the back alley. This would be the wetland that's dedicated to the city, and then ultimately this would be a path along a power line corridor. This path will eventually come all the way down like this along that power line corridor and then connect up to Falcon Loop. We have plans, our Parks and Open Space plan ultimately calls for this trail to continue along this power line path up all the way to the existing pedestrian crossing at right by the gate and right at Central High School, the one that all the kids do the mid-block crossing across. For that, yeah, or sort of for this one. So anyways, that's essentially the project. You wanna maybe scroll down just a little bit. What they're showing here is sort of future phases of high density adjacent to the high density, and then just continue on single family as you head to the south. This sort of looks at it in a closer view. Any questions beyond that?
Thank you, Fred.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. So that's essentially that project.
Yeah, because I would take to extend, provide 1 year extension for the.
I will to approve the extension of the subdivision until May 5th, 2020.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Aye. Abstention. And then the next piece is a continued discussion of info standards.
Perfect. So this one is a continuation of the discussion that you and the Historic Preservation Commission have been having about height limits in the downtown area. The basic nutshell of this discussion is, you'll remember way back when, I don't know, I have March on here, but I think it was before then. It was like maybe a December meeting or a January meeting. You and the Historic Preservation Commission talked about standards for the downtown zone and things like height, stuff like that. And at that meeting, what you folks told me to do is go look for a way that was somewhere between a set of standards that we have that apply to this block right here, which is what we call a historic residential overlay, to make stuff on that block, if it's commercial in nature, to look residential. It's a historic residential overlay. There's a couple of blocks in the downtown area that have that designation applied to it. We did that. We did the historic preservation code. Some of the blocks include that half block there, this half block here, and like the half block over on 2nd Street between B and C, where there's there's 2 single family homes, and there's a vacant lot right at the center of them. That was essentially saying at that time, if something new goes in here, we'd like it to look residential in nature. At that time, there was not a designation that was granted for certain half blocks, like this half block right here, or the half block adjacent to us, just to the north of us. And so basically what applies to those, or even the half block across from the movie theater on 2nd between E and D right there. So so all of those did not have that historic residential designation applied to it. And so the standards that apply then are commercial standards. And those commercial standards include the allowance of things like buildings 45 feet in height, potentially up to 55 feet with certain criteria being met. And what we realized at that time is potentially, like, for some of those areas where it's transitioning from single family homes now to more commercial in nature, we needed a different sort of approach. So what I did after that meeting was, at that first meeting, you folks directed me to find a third solution potentially. So I went out and I looked and I thought, well, and I looked and I was trying to study this stuff, and what I came back to was ultimately, potentially our height limits in the downtown are wrong. Potentially 40 feet is not exactly, or 45 feet is not the right number. Potentially also things like increasing the height to 55 feet is not something that we want to do in our downtown. And you'll remember, and I didn't bring the graphic with me. I printed out this graphic right here that showed our downtown and showed that basically when looking at Main Street, it's basically a lot of buildings right around 40 feet in height. And so, so at that next meeting where you folks met with the Historic Preservation Commission, I suggested a thing where we set the height limit at the front at 40 feet and then require a step back from the front of the building to potentially go up to 45 feet or potentially even higher. At that meeting, I was directed, no, we want it to be 40 feet, period. So based on that, I went back and I changed the code to read 40 feet, period. And that's what's in front of you. There are, again, zoning is so flexible. There's so many ways that this could be tweaked. This is one. We can tweak this any number of ways. I put this 40 feet in the downtown overlay zone. I kept the height at 45 feet outside of the downtown overlay zone. Also, I did not allow a 55-foot bonus in the downtown overlay zone. Instead, I only allowed that to be applied if you're out of the downtown overlay zone, and I should have brought a map for the downtown overlay zone. The downtown overlay zone, if I'm not mistaken, essentially includes downtown, right? Karen could pull up a map and we could look at exactly where the boundary is. If you pull up, just Google independent zoning map, pull that up. So that's what I've done. I showed this to the Historic Preservation Commission. They said, yep, that looks good. I told them at that time, still this needs to be approved by you folks and it might change here. And then it's gonna have to be approved by the city council. And I told them to, it might change there. So I guess I'm curious, are you folks comfortable with this? Is this the direction that you folks are wanting to go? Do you have any questions? Or anything?
Fred, I have a question. What is the impact on the, remember the name of this where grocery outlet and Central Plaza, but
Yeah,
what is the,
this would not apply to Central Plaza. The way I specifically wrote this is that you could continue to have 55-foot tall buildings over there.
Next up.
Matt's up. So, can you just zoom in a little around the downtown area here? Whoa. Oh, yeah, so no. This is a whole zoning map. How did you get to that?
I Googled it like you said.
Okay, this is the whole zoning map. Yeah, this is the one before transitional zone.
Okay. You find another one.
Those plans, man. Matt. So yeah, you can see on this map better where the overlay zone is, it's that black line there. That goes around that. You can see that. You can just pan down.
Yeah,
You see.
kind of.
Yeah, there you go. Oh. Perfect. So do you see downtown overlay right there? This guy, or black line, not the black dotted line.
How far does that go this way? Which street?
It goes, this is A up here, or wait,
This is.
that's A, this is G, right here,
Down to G.
down to G. A to G, and this is third. Wait, First, second, yeah, May or second, third.
Thank you for the needle, pretty well.
Okay. Does that feel comfortable?
I mean, yeah, that's.
I'll tell you, at the last meeting where we talked about this, and I pushed back a little bit on this, it was more from the standpoint of it not being, to me, not feeling like there was much discussion being allowed around that number being chosen. I'm comfortable with this approach, I think now, my pushback was more on the process less.
Okay. Okay, if you guys are comfortable with that, I will go ahead and notice this for a public hearing and yeah, we can move forward from there.
Which alternative are you?
Oh, no, it's just, we're just, the draft as is, we'll move forward with the draft as is.
And Paul, that'll be the one.
Yeah.
One of us.
So it probably won't be the June meeting.
Yeah.
It'll probably be July.
Perfect.
And what I would recommend too is that we do not include the residential in that right now and just keep it really focused on the downtown area. So we're doing it for smaller code change. I feel like we're gonna probably have to do some tweaks to the residential stuff anyway in the future. And so having a bundled residential package makes more sense at that time. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to send notice to everybody in the city.
Yeah. I would appreciate that, doing one, yeah. Are there any other discussion items outside of, looks like we have one?
We have a walking tour. Karen does have a small little video for us to sort of prime our thinking for the walking tour.
Karen's video, or is it your video?
Was that?
Is it Karen's video or your video?
Well, Karen has my video.
Okay, while I'm pulling up the video, I'd like to also note that, Mr. E. Bender noted the July meeting. The July meeting will be on the second Monday instead of the first Monday is July 3rd.
Thanks, Brian.
So to, I guess, prime this video. This guy is just, oh, here's Becky. Okay.
No worries.
That's fine. This guy who we're gonna be showing here is just one of my favorite planners around. I think this guy is very good, and I might have showed you something from him before, but it's just a short little video. Over the next screen.
Okay. And now this is cheaper.
Make it big, make it big.
There you go. Got it.
Simple, right? Simple. Okay. Alright, so yeah, I mean, is it gonna rain on us? Is it raining out there right now? Okay, I think, what's that?
The clouds are below.
Okay, so I say we go for a little walk. I think it will be great. What I want,
We need to adjourn the meeting before, yeah.
Where are you walking to?
just through, essentially along the river and then up through downtown.
I'm gonna pass.
Okay,
I already did a walk today and it's, I'm doing another one.
sounds good.
So yes, the meeting will be adjourned, but because there is will be a forum of the commissioners, any, Mr. Ryder and Ms. Sheck, if you would like to join them, you're welcome to.
So we need to adjourn first.
Okay, I move to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're, oh, we can kind of keep them all.